So today I would like to focus on a very simple but surprisingly difficult question. What do people mean when they say open AI in education? And this presentation draw on, the preliminary findings from our ongoing projects, the meanings of open artificial intelligence. So the projects, we examine how different stakeholders interpret open AI, particularly in education, and why those interpretations lead to different expectations, priorities, and also concerns. And this is our team that you can see it's a bit tiny up there, but yeah. So I myself initiated the project and led the overall framing and direction. And our dearest friend Vidminas, who is now officially Dr. Vichada, working at the Oxford University, he has done a substantial amount of the work in practice, including, like coordinating recruitment, conducting interviews, and also managing many day-to-day research tasks. And also, we also have received a strong mentoring and support from our fantastic Dr. Raffaro at the University, Open University in the UK, and particularly in helping sharpen the research design and also the analytical framing. And yeah, so together we aim to contribute an empirical map of meanings that can support clearer conversations about policy, practice, and responsible use of AI in education. So I know that I don't have a lot of time to really get through all of these. So rather than giving you 3 slides with, without any enough information, so I would give you a poster. So if you are interested in it, you can have a look in your free time. So why I am doing this, or why we are doing this, because I would like to start with quick questions for you. When you hear about the phrase open AI, what does it mean in your context? Okay, yeah, so that could be different way that we could somehow relate to the concept of open education, right? So, but that's interesting because open AI, the definition of it is actually quite consistent, because the meaning openness in education is already plural. Like we have in the open education literature and also practice, openness often travels through at least 3 established traditions. So access, which means it reduces legal, financial, and technical barriers to learning opportunities, and also licensing and reuse, which means the permission to use, adapt, and redistribute resources, often to OER, and also practice and participation. So openness is something that enacted through collaboration, co-creation, sharing, and student agency, and so on. So because of so many, we did some research on the literature that actually, not really in the literature, but on the internet, to be honest, that we see that different people referring to the definition or what they mean about open AI differently. So sometimes they talk about open source AI, sometimes, open AI as an entity. So that's why we want to really capture what that means by open AI in people opinion. So we use a qualitative phenomenographic study, and we use variation theory as well. So we interviewed 24 expert stakeholders across higher education, edtech, AI, ethics, and law. And then, so we use semi-structured online interviews as a means of data collection. And also for the analysis that we use Ackland School of Phenomenography with iterative reading and cross-case comparison, and also with the variation theory lens. So actually we have 3 research questions, but because we don't have time, I know that. So that's why we are only reporting the very early result of our first question here. So it's very interesting because when I ask higher educators what they mean by open AI, they will say that, okay, so that could be something that responsible, accountable, like something like that, or accessible. And if I'm asking a developer, a very technical developer, about what OpenAI means, so they said that, okay, it needs to be open, built on open data. It needs to have open ways, open models, and everything that associated with the inside of the system. It needs to be open, something like that, and somehow even explainable. So, and then when I talk to those from the ethics and law domain, so they will say like, okay, OpenAI, it means it needs to be accountable. It needs to be are compliant with GDPR. He needs to comply with the AI Act and so on. So people have different views, to be honest, a perspective about what they understand by the openness of AI. So because of that, we got a very interesting data set, data that we collected, and we analyze it. So we don't try to build a concrete, unique definition about OpenAI, but rather we want to see what variations that exist in stakeholders' understanding of OpenAI. So our very preliminary findings, we found that there's 4 levels of defining OpenAI. So it starts from 0D to 3D. So binary, the first level, that's either open or closed. So it's somehow like boundary-based, often linked to licensing or formal criteria of it. And then the second level is the 1D. It's pretty linear, like how open, like openness as a degree, the threshold that could be differ. And also the third level is the 2D, which multi-dimensional, open in what ways? For example, like different components can be open to different contexts. And the last one is the 3D contextual. So it answering the questions like, who is it open for, or for what purpose, or under what constraints? And yeah, so these related to purpose, power, and also consequences that are central. And also we found that a very interesting cross-cutting divider here, that rather, in the way that people understanding about openness of AI, that's something very inside the system, that openness is a property of the technical system. For example, like open source code, open ways, transparent training procedures or something, so on. And outside of the system, which means how the system actually, not just how it developed, but it's how it deployed, right? So it's in use, like transparent, collaborative, accessible educational practice, even where the tools is, proprietary. Yeah. And that's one thing, one of interesting finding of us. And the other one is we also found the critical factors that differentiate the understanding. So this is important because it informed by the variation theory. So we found that what is meant by open. So either it could be inside or outside the system, as I already mentioned. It could be binary or categorical or spectrum, or it could be thresholds and required criteria. For example, like what counts as open enough. So this question is also interesting because our participants raised that quite a lot. And then granularity of definitions, and also the scope, boundaries, and AI stack. For example, like whether openness applies to the model only, the whole AI stack, or broader social technical system. And also the second part of that critical factors is who decides what openness is for. For example, like subjective or objective, negative or positive liberties, openness as a goal or or a tool, or different openness aims, as well as the ambiguity in key terms. So anyway, so this is just one the result of only one research questions. We have another one that some associated challenges and opportunities that we had that associated with different understanding or variation of stakeholder understanding about openness of AI. So in general, we conclude that OpenAI in education has multiple meanings across the AI stack and also educational practice. And openness can support access, adaptation, and scrutiny, but it's not automatically ethical or safe. So the full openness can increase the misuse. That's agreed, right? Privacy risks, safety threats, and also unclear accountabilities. So the outcomes depend on what is open, who can act on it, and also the safeguards that in place. So I leave you to think about the open futures that brought by the openness of AI. So we think that it's required the alignment with capability, governance, and equity, and also this very, I think, popular saying that in our open community, that is actually open as possible and also as close as necessary. So yeah, so I tried to be as quick as possible, and I think I did a good job. Yes, thank you.
Excellent job.